Hey guys, Joe Cusimano here, Momentum Realty, and continuing on with my series of videos on the home selling process. Today we're going to talk about title and escrow, and who better than to have it explained to you than the professionals over here at Stewart Title. And I want to introduce to you Carrie Bundy.
Hello.
Who is our preferred title and escrow person. And so I'm just going to turn it over to you, Carrie. Just let people know what happens from the time when we get an accepted offer on the property and we send the contract to you. What happens behind the scenes during that escrow period.
Okay, so what'll happen is we'll receive the purchase contract and it will have the title and escrow company written on the contract. So we'll receive the fully executed contract, then we'll open escrow. At that time, we will get the buyer's email address and phone number so we can send them the secured email so that they'll get the wiring instructions to wire us the earnest money. We will reach out to all parties, both agents, transaction coordinators, and let them know escrow is opened and request the seller's information sheet that has the payoff information, HOA information. Are you going to be signing your documents here or out of state? The general information to get the ball rolling. So once we get all that information and we'll get the preliminary title report, then we will send the broker package out to the agents with the prelim commission instructions. At that time, we let the agents know if there's any problem on the preliminary title report, and I will point that out to you. And then what'll happen is we can then take the ball and clear up any issues that may be on title to ensure the clear title. During this process, we're also going to get communication from the lender, and so then we will get the lender the items they need, closing protection letter, preliminary title report, fees, any of that information.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot that goes on behind the scenes that the consumer just doesn't even realize goes on.
Correct.
So what do you find is the biggest obstacle during an escrow, would you think, as far as clearing title or working with the HOA to get the resale packet and such? What do you think is the biggest speed bump?
The most important thing is when we have the seller general information sheet, getting that back, because sometimes the sellers will drag their feet, and I will always offer to contact the seller directly. Sometimes that's easier. Sometimes, especially with older people, they don't have access for the internet. So I can take the information over the phone dealing with them directly. I like to do it rather than put the agent in the middle because the social security numbers, at least the last 4 digits, will be at play, and they don't want to give those out to just anybody, understandably so. So I'd be more than happy to jump in and deal with the sellers directly. And that way it cuts out the agent to have to be the middle guy. We're not calling the agent to call the seller, and it's just going back and forth.
Right, and there's no reason that we would need the private information like that. So that's
Correct.
Specific to the escrow process. And that's one reason why we work so well together. So can you tell me a little bit about title insurance? I get a lot of questions about, well, what's this title insurance policy? And number one, why are there 2 of them? So can you explain the title policy aspect?
Of course. When there's a loan in play, then you're going to want an owner's policy and a lender's policy. If it's a cash transaction, you only need an owner's policy. The difference is the owner's policy is normally reasonably and customary paid by the seller, and it ensures clear title to make sure that there's no liens or judgments or deeds of trust. We come across a lot of second mortgages that people don't even realize, I had that home equity line of credit 15 years ago, didn't realize that kind of thing. So we make sure that that's all cleared up so it doesn't transfer with the property and become the buyer's problem. The lender's policy is to ensure that the lender gets the first lien position. So that means there's no liens or judgments against the buyer's name, nothing that's going to transfer to the property, because everybody wants that first lien position, meaning if it goes to foreclosure, heaven forbid, they want their money first. So it's all about the first lien position in the lender's policy. Okay,
excellent. So moving forward here, so as we go through the escrow period, probably pretty much about the last week or so before the estimated closing date, I mean, there's a whole flurry of activity that happens then with the signings and whatnot. Can you dive into that a little bit?
I like to sign the sellers as soon as we have everything ready. So as soon as we have the payoff demands, HOAs, tax or trash, all the general information, we figure the file and then we get the sellers in. Go ahead and get their portion out of the way, explain everything to them, and then when the buyer's docs roll in, we're in a much better position to close right away, because a lot of people want to close sooner than later, understandably so, it's a big purchase. And so then we have the buyer sign their portion, then we send all the lender's docs back to the lender and fund the transaction.
Okay. And then, of course, Nevada, the way we do it here, it gets released to record.
Correct.
Can you explain that actually, like what happens on closing day as far as behind the scenes?
Okay. On closing day, now some people think closing day is when the buyer signs, and it can be one and the same, but sometimes the buyer can sign before the close of escrow. So if they can sign on a Tuesday and we'll actually close escrow on Wednesday. Once we get the documents back to the lender has to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and then they will fund the transaction. We balance how much money is going to come in, that kind of thing. And once we submit it to record with the county, it's all done electronically now. So all we do is push a button and then we can send it down to record. I always tell people don't expect confirmation until 5 o'clock. Because so many people say, okay, if we sign at 8 o'clock in the morning, is it ours by noon? No guarantee. So it's always better to just say more around 5 o'clock.
Right. And of course, it's not your property until we get that final recording confirmation.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And then we'll send out an email that we have confirmation of recording.
Okay. And then it's just a matter of the agents getting back involved and transferring keys and whatnot.
Correct.
So, okay. So, hey guys, I hope you found this information helpful. Little explanation of what really goes on during the escrow period. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, call, text 702-710-3806 is my direct line, 702-710-3806.